Genuinely curious about your take on Trump's company going to fusion power. What? What does this even mean? Truth Social parent to merge with nuclear fusion firm in $6 billion deal. I don't know. She's probably just like an investment opportunity, right? Like, I doubt there's much more to this other than money. Didn't France recently have a very successful fusion experiment? Didn't that happen? It ran for like 20 minutes. Nice. This is from 9 months ago. I thought this happened like a couple of weeks ago.
France has upped the ante in the quest for fusion power by maintaining a plasma reaction for over 22 minutes, creating a new record. The milestone was reached on February 12th at the Commissariat à l'Énergie Atomique et aux Energies Alternatives, or
Let me find a different source. Yeah, it just rolls right off the tongue. Is this AI?
Francis West fusion reactor set it.
Wow, yeah. Okay. Everything's AI. Is there really no, like, spoken word, like, regular human coverage of this event? That's crazy. 22 minutes, a new record. Achieving the dream of commercial power fusion with a single gram of hydrogen isotopes yielding the energy equivalent of 11 tons of coal. Practical fusion reactor would hold the promise of unlimited clean energy for humanity till the end of time. In the latest test, West Tokamak held its reaction for leet seconds. That's crazy. Old heads rising up. So they were able to sustain it. It was stable. Maintain hydrogen plasma through the injection of 2 megawatts of heating power. Well, how much power did they generate? Well, I guess it's not really about the power generation, right? Because we know how much power it would generate if it was held stable. It's just a matter of getting it to hold stable. Like, the problem won't be making sure the fusion reaction will more than break even. It will. It's fusion. The problem is, like, can you get it to a point where it holds itself together? I mean, okay, let's research it, but it's not happening anytime soon. I don't know. Could happen any day. You never know, right? That some crazy new formula they put forward, some wacky shit, and then all of a sudden fusion is now commercially viable. And then everyone working on it gets assassinated by big oil, like that guy from MIT. Why do we need some new fancy tech when solar and wind already exist? Because solar and wind are, like, huge and messy. You need to build, like, thousands and millions of cells and structures everywhere, and they have to be maintained, and they're not very efficient. You could literally just make a sun, dog. It's literally infinite energy. As long as you can scrape up the isotopes you need, it's literally just infinite energy. You don't need batteries. There's no worries about weather. There's barely any maintenance too, honestly, because you've just built, like, it's just one facility essentially producing an enormous amount of power. You know, you have to maintain it, but you don't need to worry about, like, oh, 30 years these solar panels will need replacing or whatever. Yeah, just build another sun, bro. Boil water version 47. Yeah, it's good. That's what God put water on Earth for. You know? So we could boil it and turn a turbine. Also, it solves our dwindling helium reserve problem. Well, sure. So does this use magic rock or no? No, this does not use magic rock. That's fission. Fission is when you get the magic rock and you get it really hot and angry, and then it yells at you super loud. So loud, in fact, that it boils water. In this case, where you fire a stream of hydrogen isotopes into a chunk of a material, and so hard that you make a new sun. And it also screams, like, really loud. It doesn't leave behind any radioactive material after. You know? The reason fission does is because fission causes the uranium isotopes to break down into radioactive elements, but in this case it doesn't. You know, you just do fusion, just make it a bunch of energy. You know, what happens if it summons a portal to hell, though? I mean, it might. David Zondi is a playwright, author, and journalist based in Seattle. Cool. I'm here. I wish there was more reporting on this. French language site. I mean, this is literally theoretically, the most promising form of energy generation possible, right? Until our great whatever grandchildren are out here figuring out how to harness energy from alternate timelines or some scientific science fiction bullshit like that. This is pretty much the apex. I think pay attention a little bit. I wish I heard people talk about it more. Entire tech tree is boiling water. Yeah. You never know. One day we will find a better thing to boil than water, and once that happens, it's off to the fucking races. They're going to invent like a non-compressible gas or whatever that does the job much better, and it's just going to be we're to the moon after that. You mean air? I'm fairly sure that air is compressible. I could be wrong on that. Solar panels not boiling water? Well, sometimes it is. There are solar farms where they all beam the light. It's just mirrors that fucking focus the light on a water tank. Many such cases. This will be used in weapons for energy, right? I don't think it can. Like, you can use fission in a bomb because you can build you basically just need enough of the spicy rock. But my understanding is that for fusion, you need like a really you need a big like power plant basically to sustain the reaction. So unless you plan on blowing yourself up, I get the main thing is that fusion doesn't do a chain reaction. That's literally the hydrogen bomb. All right, well, maybe. I guess what I should say then, and I will say this with some degree of confidence, this specific way of doing fusion can't really be used as a weapon because you're building a super expensive machine to channel a plasma beam that can't really do anything other than produce energy. Like, there's no like chain reaction there. There's no like, oh, we made it go critical. If things ever went critical at a fusion plant, it would just turn off. There's not like an energy source that builds and builds and builds. You just turn it off. So is there waste from this? No. It's pretty cool. I don't know. Modern fission power plants do that too. Yeah. But theoretically, they could not. Like, there's stuff in the fission power plant that is hypothetically dangerous that spooks people out. But in this case, it's cool. It just doesn't do that. Like, it's pretty clean energy. If the tokamak fails, what would happen? It literally just turns off. Like, there's nothing that could happen to the tokamak. There's no way to reassemble it or break it or whatever that doesn't just make it stop. I mean, look, if you ran at the chamber with like a big hammer, maybe you're able to break it open in such a way that for a second you're exposed to 15 trillion degrees Celsius of plasma before it shuts down, which it would shut down like immediately and you would die. But you shouldn't run at it with a hammer then. And that's the case with any power plant. Like, that would be, that's the case with literally any, like a solar panel. Okay, yeah, if you lick the photovoltaic battery cell, then you might die. Like, that's just energy. There's energy there at the energy plant. Also, you could open a portal to the hell dimension, yeah. For sure. This is what 20 years of spent nuclear fuel looks like from a plant. Yeah, it's not really that significant. People do fearmonger over fission way too much. Fusion's still more base, though. They even do it in Steven Universe.